introduce the Wisconsin Direct Marketing Association. It was founded in 1986. I remember the first meeting when we had Bob Stone, who was legendary in direct marketing, and George Mosier was one of the board members, and Connie Bauer, and Ron Davis, and a few others. I have the original paperwork now because I had to resurrect it. So it is now an official nonprofit corporation with the state of Wisconsin. We're all set with that. And so anyway, the idea of direct marketing. This is from an old talk I did back when I was working at an ad agency, and they asked me, what the heck is direct marketing? You know, we send out mailing pieces and sales go up, and why is that not direct marketing? And I thought long and hard about that, and I thought, you know, they're right. I mean, they have this valid perspective. And in fact, I looked at the first I looked at the sort of what are the fundamentals, what is the point of direct marketing? And I think we need to keep that in mind. Why are we doing this? The point, the main thing that we're after is to find out what marketing ideas are working. And the sad part these days is that we've substituted big data and analytics and all kinds of software to try to figure out what's going on. We think that if we can make a lot of noise as marketers and measure stuff, that we're going to know what's going on. And nothing could be farther from the truth. Further, I suppose you'd say. Nothing could be further from the truth. That is 180 degrees the wrong direction, and why 60% of big data projects are abandoned. You know, I used to say I was in database marketing, and they said, what's that? I said, well, we market big databases, people, and charge them a lot of money. And the truth was, that's what most people did. The how to make money with data is so far opposite of what people are doing today. They have no square one clue. And just as a plug, I got my book, Spinning Straw into Gold, in paperback now, nice and full of case studies and stuff. Here, I go over this way. Full of case studies about how you make money with data and why people don't make money with data. And so if you want a little heads up, George, well, when he was running National Business Furniture, George Mosier bought him for his whole staff, which I think is really cool. And thank you, George. I'm a big fan of his, and he's, I guess, a big fan of mine. There's great reviews and all that. And I don't mean to put a plug in there, except that I'm so passionate about how opposite the right thing is. And that's why I'm passionate about the WDMA. When you find out what marketing ideas are working, you make more money. What the goal is to let our customers tell us what they like. And another one, if you don't want to go get the book, read the article on the election and how direct marketing swung the election. And I know Ernie Shell wrote me back and said, I think there were some other factors like the quality of candidates. Well, most people didn't like the quality of either candidate. So it must have been something else, Ernie, and I hope you're on here today. Let's see if we got, yes? Okay, we got some people watching. So anyway, make more money. Got that? Make more money. Okay, so what else do we got? Get credit for your contribution. If you come up with an idea, and I mean, why wouldn't you want to know the impact? It's funny, when I was at the ad agency, we would pitch these companies. We were 5 for 5 in the couple of years I was there in terms of getting the clients we pitched, because the president and the owner loved the idea of accountable marketing. And then we'd get to the creative meetings and they wouldn't invite me. No offense to the creative meetings and the people, luckily I don't remember their names. But they, it's like, we want to win awards. We want to be creative. We don't care, about your junk mail crazy ideas. So anyway, but I said, you'll get credit. Yeah, well, what if it fails? Then we'll get credit for failing. They didn't like that. They would rather have no credibility, no accountability than actually get rewarded. Well, direct marketing is about getting rewarded, about figuring it out, about knowing something. Okay, now my DM history is that I started in the 70s. I'm supposed to click to the next here. In 1978, doing direct mail, and I was a direct marketing consultant by the fall of 1981. So that gives me like 35 years at this. I've mailed hundreds of millions of pieces, but no, I've mailed tens of millions of pieces, but clients have mailed billions. I did a lot of work for the Postal Service, teaching them about why anybody would. They came to me and said, why would anybody spend all this money? TV is so much cheaper. Yes, it is. Why would you ever put something in the mail? U.S. Postal Service. We should run those classes again if anybody from USPS is on here today. Anyway, so I used to joke that my clients did 168 billion pieces last year. They'd look at me like, who is that? Yeah, okay. Anyway, I started in design and copy, and then circulation and database analytics. I found out that I wasn't nearly as creative as the creative copy and design people, but I was a lot more creative than most IT people, and good with good reason that they're not, because we got to ship the stuff and we got to have it run all the time. And if you put somebody like me in charge of your company, I'd be revising the field sizes of the software, and the whole thing would come tumbling down. So. But creativity has its place. Okay, so why don't people understand direct marketing? This is the definition of direct marketing that was in the DMA magazine, the direct marketing magazine, for decades, from about the time I started in the 70s all the way till it went out of business. And it was direct marketing is an interactive system of marketing that uses one or more advertising media to affect a measurable response and or transaction at any location. Okay? That sounds great, right? What does that even mean? What does interactive system mean? I mean, what would be more interactive than talking with a sales clerk? I'd go into Best Buy and say, I want to buy, a mouse or something. I want to buy a digital camera. And he starts telling you about the digital. Is that an interactive system? If there's training, it's a system. If it's just making it up, lying to you, then probably it's not. But I don't know what an interactive system is. It got stuck in there. I don't really know what the point of that was, but interactive seems like let's talk. Okay, at any location. Now, does that mean if I have multiple retail stores, at any retail store, or does it mean at no location? Like, what if the guy's at his computer typing away, or he's on the phone? He's at a location. So again, it's a little bit. Now, here's where it gets really muddy: response and or transaction. Okay. Now, what that's come to mean, and the scary part today is that a response is I clicked on your link and went to your website, or I went and viewed your article for 1 second, or is that meaningful? I have to pay for it. The average Google click-through costs about 75 cents, and you can do a 24 to 48 page catalog for that. At some quantity, not much though, 100,000 pieces or something, probably way less than that. I am just shocked at the value. The putting a catalog in the mail is the same price about now that it was when I was doing them back in the 80s and 90s. So anyway, but what is a response? Well, any action you take based on the marketing frenzy. Okay, so let's keep thinking about this. Okay, a measurable response. What does that mean, measurable? We used to mean that we'd get an order. We could measure. We'd get some money coming in the mail, or at least get a postcard or something back, a lead card back or something. We'd get something we could hang on to. But nowadays, it's like I said, it's an eyeball or something. It doesn't track back necessarily to the person we sent it to, or we got a Google AdWord and they can tell us a profile, but they can't tell us much else. It's a very great puzzle. I'm not being facetious, but we measure everything. So we focused on this measurable and said anybody who does measurable is doing direct marketing. Okay, so here's a couple of examples. We got Acme Megacorp, and they profile existing customers, and they create a grande ad campaign to drive web traffic. and sales double for their XYZ product in 2 months. Is that direct marketing? Okay, and maybe they do a Super Bowl ad or something. We got Costco Retail, and they do customer zip, and they build a trading area profile. They do newspaper flyers in those zip codes around their stores. They train their salespeople to talk nice to the visitors, and sales increase 30%. Okay, is that direct marketing? Okay, Sally Consumer plans a garage sale with church friends, puts an ad in the bulletin or puts it on Craigslist, and talks to everybody that comes and smiles and says hi, and then sells $250 worth of stuff. And I would contend that by that definition, all of them are direct marketing. And I said this to Pete Hoke back when he was around, and he got so mad he almost knocked me over. It looked like he was going to pop a gasket. And hi to Hank if you're here, if you're watching, and I hope you do. And Hank is really a nice friend, and he's trying to help me dig up the archives of what those guys knew, because they knew what they were doing. And that's another one of the puzzles with this definition, is that Pete said to me, well, you're talking about good direct marketing, and we're talking about direct marketing in a more general sense. Well, I had this fight with the DMA about 30 years ago, and I said, if all it is measurable, and measurable doesn't even mean we did measure. If all you're doing, so we'll extend that and make it, if it's measurement, if direct marketing is measurement, then basically everybody is doing direct marketing. The problem is almost no one's doing direct marketing. Even the mailers today are really have forgotten what it means. So what I'm talking about is that all advertising is meant to generate a measurable effect. The whole point of advertising, even the most obscure mass media, where we have an ad of a guy swinging a sledgehammer and blasting a big screen TV in front of an audience, which was an Apple commercial back on a Super Bowl years ago. I still remember it. And I remember that it was Apple, which is better than a lot of ads. But even the most obscure and tangential ad that you ever see is still meant to be remembered, meant to break through your clutter, meant to, when you think about a computer, you say, well, those Apple people, they are creative. They're different. They're the kind of people I want to be. You know, it's funny because I was thinking about the photographs that come streaming at me from Windows 10, and I thought, you know, why does Apple get these great videos and photographs from their iPhone users? And part of it is because if you're cool, if you're creative, you own an iPhone. You better own an iPhone. I agree, you should. Now, I own an Android because I'm not that creative. Just, you know, I want to play with apps, and I want to, you know, be able to take the thing apart and change the battery and do all that sort of thing. Okay, so back to advertising. So all advertising, no matter what kind. You know, I helped a dentist friend when he was getting started in his practice. I said, why don't you do a flyer in the neighborhood? He printed up a big flyer with a huge picture of a chicken on it. He said, are you chicken? Painless dentistry. And he got lots of patients out of the neighborhood, right? Hey, it's, you know, it works. That's what we're trying to do. All advertising, we're trying to do that, okay? And, you know, our ads increased his business. The ad agency guys would say our ads increased his business 40%. Well, a really good picture of this. I went to General Motors. They flew me over there, and they said, you know, it's a long story. It's in a bunch of my videos, but bottom line, you know, I said, why am I here? And they said, you know what we'd like to know is who would have bought a car without the $5,000 rebate. And I said, okay, great. What answer would you like? And they looked at me, and they looked at me, and they said, well, we thought you were a data guy. You know, we want to know, based on data, who we could have not given the $5,000 to, and they would have bought anyway. You know, they wanted to look at cannibalization. And that makes perfect sense. It's a perfectly good question to ask. The problem is they were already on TV and radio and whatever else they did. saying if you get a GM credit card, you can get a up to $5,000 rebate on your next car. And that is, tall cotton. That's a big deal. And I said to him, well, what answer would you like? And they said, wait a minute, you're a data guy. And I said, well, I doubt that you set it up to generate the data to answer that question. And that is really, really the heart of this issue. Is instead of, they had 250 fields on every cardholder. And they had, how much they spent at Walmart and how much they spent at United Airlines and all this stuff. They had all kinds of data. It was the beginning of big data, I suppose. But they hadn't asked the question in the right way to create the system to answer the question. And I thought a lot. I've thought a lot about since that day, because we could have built them a database, and I think I quoted them like $1 million or something. And they probably were charging, this was EDS, and they were probably charging GM 20 or 30 million. They decided they couldn't charge that much if I was giving them that kind of deal. So, how would you answer that question if you were a direct marketer? And this is what the WDMA is going to be about. The WDMA is going to say, get your eyes off the data and the huge pile of data that you have and start thinking. Start thinking about what you want to know from your marketplace. And go read that election article because it gets at the two worldviews that we've got going here. And all the money is going to piling up data. And no money is going to answering the questions that you need answered to make money. We can help you with that. And you say, well, John, you're anachronistic. You're an old guy. You're an old wizard. What do you know about today's anything? Well, read the article. I don't know everything. I know I don't know everything. But I do know that this mindset applies to any media that you might select if you think about it right. And there's nothing more powerful that you can do than to learn to think the opposite of what's going on today. And if you can do it, it's so funny because my daughter works at a huge nonprofit, 1,000 employees or something. And she came to me one day and she said, we do a lot of postcards and it's business to business. And she said, it doesn't seem to be working like it used to. I said, have you ever tried a business letter in a number 10 envelope? She said, no, as far as I know, we've never tried it. Well, you could try it. Although, if you're going to try it and you really want to know what's going on, see, this is the thing. You can try it. Maybe it'll do better, maybe it'll do worse, but you don't know what happened. I said, what you really want to do is you want to send to every other person the postcard you're doing and the number 10. That's called an A-B split. And if you don't know that, sign up today, join the WDMA. But anyway, they did it. They don't do any of that. They've never done any kind of testing on what they do. They just send it out, see what happens. So they did that, and guess what happened? I don't remember what happened. I know that the number 10 envelope did like 4 times better, or maybe more. A lot. No question that it was significant. Huge difference. She said to me the other day, guess what? We don't do those postcards much anymore. We do all these number 10s. Now, did they keep testing? No. But look at what they learned. They got 4 times more effective, 4 times more effective. And you say, well, that's direct mail. You know what? They do a lot of direct mail. So, the point is, let's go back here. Point is, you can set up your data wrong, or you can set it up right. You can set it up as big and try to measure everything there is, or you can set it up right. You can think about it in scientific terms. You can get smarter. You can keep getting smarter. You can get smarter faster. You can do it with Facebook. You can do it with LinkedIn. You can do it with WordPress landing pages. You can do it all kinds of ways. I'm not telling you need to be a direct mailer, but you need to be thinking direct marketing. And you probably need, I was doing this with Mark Graham today, and he's working with a big retailer with hundreds of outlets and teaching them this stuff. And they're getting 300% ROI on the stuff he's doing. I hope Mark's on. Hey, Mark. Anyway, and so am I, with retail. I can tell you how to do that attribution test. But that's not what everybody's doing. Everybody's trying to hang on their IP address and decide whether they're in the shower or they're up on the roof instead of actually figuring out the true answer. Okay. So the key ingredient in direct marketing, back here. I don't know how to go back. Let's try it, page up. The key ingredient is testing. Direct marketing can tell you which half is wasted. As Wanamaker said, half my advertising is wasted. I wish I knew which half. You know what? Direct marketing can answer that question. Is it better to have Google clicks or to have a catalog in their hands? You know what? It depends. It's not an yes/no answer for everyone. It's not the same. Okay, so direct marketing can tell you how much the difference is between people you mailed or people you didn't. There's ways to do it. Mail has some advantages on that, but there's a lot of different ways to do it. And unless you know why and you know the causal relationships, in technical terms, direct marketing has the capability of isolating causal variables. And guess what else? Conjunction is not causal. If you want some academic stuff here. Conjunction. In a database, in a data lake, which they're calling them now. We used to laugh about it and call it a data landfill or a data lake. We used to laugh about it, but that's what they're calling them now. And that's what they are, a landfill. A data landfill will never tell you causal factors. It will tell you correlations. So when coffee prices go up and the murder rate goes up, you try to figure out why. And the more data you have, the more correlations you have that will make a bit of sense. Good luck with that. But with direct marketing, you can isolate the causal variable. You can see the impact. And you can't do it without it. I mean, you can do it accidentally and you don't know it's called direct marketing. But direct marketing is the science of that process, of that learning. And we need to get together as like-minded people and talk about how would you answer this question? Because you know what? Testing is more art than it is science. There's a lot of art to it. And you might want to get with some old guy who's been doing it for 30 years and see how they do it. But we need to get the young people together because they're trying the new Snap and Instagram. And I have an Instagram account. I have all those accounts. And so find me there if you want. But right now, what everyone's doing is trying things and measuring. And that is not testing. And in fact, testing is a funny place between the obvious and the trivial. So I went to Oakley Oakley eyeglasses, and they were mad at Nike, and so they had invented a shoe, and they were going to do a mailer with the U.S. Postal Service. And I said, "Where's the response device?" There was no URL. There was supposed to be a phone number, but it was hidden in the body copy. And they said, "Well, do you think that's too small?" I said, "It's too small. It doesn't even look like you want anybody to talk to you. No offense. Fix it." They said, "Do you think we should test it?" I said, "No, you should fix it. It's wrong. It will not work." Sometimes the old guys know something, right? And it still didn't work, but who needed a bulletproof tennis shoe? Maybe somebody did. It's for people who are planning to shoot themselves in the foot. Anyway, so you don't test the obvious and you don't test the trivial, and people do. But if they're mailing 10 million pieces, the color of the stamp might make a difference. But for most of us, there are better things that you can test: the list or the offer. Try those things. Okay, we're not going to get into that too much. Okay, so the WDMA is your best source for direct marketing fundamentals. We are going to keep to the fundamentals. I go to the conventions and they tell me what the psychology is of the buyer, and I think about sportscasters who tell me what the quarterback was thinking when they made that play. Now I have the advantage here of listening to Brett Favre talk about what he was thinking when he made the play. I guess Aaron Rodgers talked to him one day and he says, "Well, what did you do when they went into a nickel defense?" He said, "Well, to be honest, what is a nickel defense?" They asked him if he had any concussions, and he said, "Not that I recall." Anyway, and so now we go to conferences and they're telling us about Maslow's hierarchy of cognitive needs. And I'm thinking to myself, there's one cataloger in the room that sells something that people really need. It's not like it's food and water and shelter here. It's some kind of perfume with essence of kumquat or something. So let's not kid ourselves. Let's try to figure out what the market wants and quit trying to have conference talks on guys, old psychologists who fake their data. Anyway, so the WDMA is going to connect you with a group of fellow direct marketing professionals. And if you think it's just John Miglosh and what does he know? Well, I've got friends and they know stuff. And I'm just the mouthpiece. And I'm going to bring them online and we're going to have really cool webinars that you can't get unless you come join us. That's what we're going to do. That's one of the key things. So whether you're a veteran to the industry or a newcomer, the WDMA can play a part in your education, understanding, and development of direct marketing. There is too much to learn. I don't know everything. You don't know everything. Don't kid yourself. You need this. You need to start thinking differently about your marketing. Because I guarantee you, if I walked in the door, and I'm happy to do that for you, but if I walked in the door, I could find 10 or 20 things that you could be testing that you're not. When I talk to Grant, we just laugh when we get into clients, even big name catalogers, who are like, maybe we should, maybe we should get back to testing a little bit. Oh my gosh. Anyway. What are the benefits? What are we going to do? We're going to do webinars, at least 1 or 2 a month, and I'm going to try to do it weekly. You might get sick of me, but we're going to do it anyway. At least it'll give you some place to go to hear some ranting and some bad marketing stories that will maybe pop your head open a little bit. So the webinars are mainly because we don't want you to be isolated, even if you live in Lafarge or someplace, We want to bring you into this group, and we want to give you a chance to comment. You can type in stuff down there. Type in stuff. Well, we're going to have the Q&A in just a second. Okay, we're going to give you access to a private Facebook group for conversation and private Q&A. That is key. Private, only the members get that. We're going to have monthly meetups. We've already had 4 of them. We'll have one in March, later March, because I'm going to Namoa. I'm going to try and get a meetup scheduled there with Namoa people. If I can figure out who's from, this area. So I'll send them a note that we should get together in some bar. And we're going to have some online courses. One big mailer told me they have a couple of dozen, like 4 or 5 dozen interns every year that know nothing about direct marketing. So we're actually, this is part of a course. This is a little bit of an initial thing. Is part of a course that I've designed for teaching direct marketing. I did it to the USPS and many others. So we're going to give you half price on those classes, but we are going to make them available to others. The membership options, you can subscribe free to our list on WDMAorg. You can, so you'll know about stuff, but that's all. The real help for us, it helps us if you join, because we're going to do the private webinars and get top-notch people, and you're not going to get that any other way. Okay, so it's $195 per year. We've got a special in March. That's if you put in the word launch for the month of March, you get a month free, which knocks off a little less than 10%. So you save almost $20. You can also get it monthly. If you're a student or a professor, you can get a good deal here. There's corporate memberships, and there's a monthly version of that. So that's pretty much this presentation. I did want to just bring up here's the WDMA, WDMA.org. I think you can see that here. I'm pretty proud of it. I did it basically all myself. And it has these beautiful scenes of Wisconsin. I assure you, they are Wisconsin. Here's downtown Milwaukee. I've got a Madison one. I've got a real nice, my favorite Actually my favorite, because if you drive around Wisconsin, this is more what Wisconsin looks like, the soybean field in the front foreground. This is Wisconsin to me. I just love this picture. But anyway, so there's join the WDMA. See that? See that blinking? That's, people have asked me, I can't figure out how to join. Okay, it's right there. Sorry, join the WDMA. Okay, we've got a forum. I don't think anyone's played with that yet, but there is some structure to it. We have a member area where I have my original definition of direct marketing, and with Connie Bauer. She actually wrote it. I just inspired her. And we have Don Leiby's book on RFM. He gave me permission to post that online several years ago. And we have some of that information that I just covered. We also have, I'm posting regular articles, and Grant Johnson has promised to let me post some of his, and we're getting some materials from Hank Hoke, which I'm very excited about. In fact, Grant put me on to that information. That's going to be in the member area only. So it's really exciting stuff. Grant wouldn't even let me have his copy of it. But they're on their way. One of these days we're going to rekey them and put that up. So there's a lot of fun stuff on the site. We're going to put this up. We're going to put this content, this impassioned plea. So what I want you to do now is go to WDMA.org. Real simple, Wisconsin Direct Marketing Association, but WDMA.org. And I want you to click on the join and decide whether you want an individual membership or not. Most of what I'm going to do with that money, in case you want to know where it's going, because we have a board of directors and we're a nonprofit, but what we're going to do with that initial money is we're going to start testing Facebook and LinkedIn. And I did a LinkedIn search. Get back to the old guy here. I did a LinkedIn search on marketing people in Wisconsin, and I'm not sure if I included Chicago or Minneapolis. The Midwest Direct Marketing Association. I love that name, but we've always had the WDMA. And frankly, Wisconsin has some of the best direct marketers in the world. If you could pick a place that was a hotbed of direct marketing, maybe at one time, maybe not so much anymore, it was Wisconsin. It was the leading catalog state. And at NMOA last fall, they announced that the most attendees came from Wisconsin. So I'm very proud of the fact that it is the Wisconsin Direct Marketing Association. But it turns out the Midwest DMA is no more. It seems I can't find any information. So that is the impassioned plea. And people, I see that there's some people watching. If you have questions, which I would love, because it would give me something that I know if I hit the nail on the head or not. But I want your help. You know, the early people who are joining are on a mission with me. We're joining together on a mission. And you may or may not know, but the DMA, the Direct Marketing Association, which was the Direct Mail Marketing Association, and they have changed their name and gotten rid of the direct in it. It's now the Data and Marketing Association, which is nice. Correlation does not yield causation. Now let's just set it up right. Direct marketing tells you causation and the degree of causation. That is what we're talking about. And if you think that's old-fashioned, you don't understand it. It's the most powerful thing in the world. And I hope you go on there. If you have any questions about whether that's true or not, go on there and read how direct marketing may have been the single greatest factor to swing the election. And if you don't believe me, and why should you? Because you won't read that anywhere else. There is no article that says this. But I read 30 or 40 articles on the election. And then I wrote the article. And then I got in touch with Brad Parscale. And I don't know how to pronounce his name. I apologize, Brad, if you're on here. And Brad said, later on, as they got closer, they did a lot more modeling, and the RNC helped a lot. But it was the early part that mattered. When I was at Namoa last spring, they had a political consultant come, and he's come a number of times, and I think he's mentioned in the article. And he said that if you were the Clinton campaign and you woke up the day after the nomination was solidified, you'd be pretty happy, because basically if the Clinton campaign won just one of the swing states, they only had to win one, Florida or Ohio or Pennsylvania or whatever it was. If they won just one, that was over. So all they had to do was win one. So you notice they never even came to Wisconsin. It was in the bag. We didn't need Wisconsin. We needed Pennsylvania, or we needed Ohio, or we needed Florida, and that's all we needed. So, but he said, what's odd about the Trump campaign is that they have gotten more delegates for less money than anyone ever has in the past, since we've been counting this. He said, we count this up, and he didn't explain how, but he said, somehow, more delegates for less money, and less than anybody in the last 35 years, he said. So they're up to something, and article after article after article talks about how the Clinton campaign had 60 PhD analysts and had data, had hundreds of variables on every voter in America, big data out the wazoo, and all kinds of models, and they knew exactly what was going on. They were so sure of what was going on that when busloads of campaign workers decided that Iowa was not going to happen, and they'd said, let's go to Michigan, we can help out there. And they were on buses, literally going to Michigan to go, door to door there instead of Iowa, because they said, we're in places that are traditionally Democrat areas, and they're not happy. And so let's go to Michigan. And the Clinton campaign said, no, get back on the bus and go back to Iowa, because Iowa's in play and Michigan's already set. And I'm not saying that was, they had their data. They had plenty of data. They had more data than anyone's ever had for an election. And they were following models that had worked in 2008 and 2012. But read the article. The article explains why the rallies were where the rallies were. It explains why they knew where to go and where to campaign. It's unbelievable. It is the most powerful example of direct marketing power ever, probably, ever. And we have largely Brad to thank for that. And I'm hoping to get him on one of the private webinars. I really am. So, I don't see the questions, so I'm going to sign off now. I want to thank you all for watching, and this will be posted on the WDMA site, so people have an introduction to the passion and the reason for getting involved. I can tell you this. If you get involved and you grasp these concepts, your company will grow faster, and you will make more money, and you can apply it to virtually any company in America. And that's the message by joining together that we need to get out. I'm John Miglosh for the WDMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Thank you for watching.